Welcome to day 6 of Women's Wisdom and talking about menopausal weight gain and why it happens. So for the past few days I've just been going over really what's going on in your body when you go through the menopause, so you can have a little bit more understanding of actually what's happening and perhaps the reasons why you have symptoms and why you may have gained some weight. So I think we're really hard on ourselves, aren't we? When our body doesn't do what we want it to do, and maybe we're trying all different things and we're still not seeing any success. And I feel that if we can just understand ourselves a little bit more, maybe we could have a little bit more compassion for ourselves, and from then that means we could have a little bit more love and tolerance and patience, because in my experience we need a little bit of patience and a little bit of tenacity to figure out what actually works for us as a woman, because what works for one woman may not necessarily work for another. So bear with us and let's go. So today we're going to talk about two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. And these hormones are key in our hormonal weight gain story, if you like. So let's just have a little think about estrogen and what it does. Estrogen really is our hormone that kind of makes us a woman. It keeps us juicy, if you like. It's responsible for our menstruation, for fertility, and has a big impact on our moods. Estrogen is also involved in our urinary tract, our heart, our bone health, our mucous membranes, our brain, also to do with our skin, what else, our pelvic muscles, heart health. You know, it's involved in so many different areas of our body. As we enter the perimenopause, which are the years before our last period, which can last sometimes up to 10 years or more. So women don't realise, do they, actually in their 40s, that the perimenopause, it could be happening. And if you think about when fertility rates drop, they drop quite sharply at an age of 50, at 35, even more at 50, but definitely at 35 there's a big drop in fertility rates, and that's because of the change in hormone levels. And it's this ratio between estrogen and progesterone that causes us issues, if you like, or can cause us issues when we go into perimenopause. I think it's a bit of a menopause myth that we kind of lose all our estrogen when we go into menopause, and that's not necessarily the case. Yes, the amount we produce dwindles, but then so does the amount of progesterone, and this is really key. I think it's a bit of a menopause myth that we don't have any estrogen after we go through the menopause. Yes, as we go through the perimenopause, our estrogen levels for sure dwindle. But remember, we talked about how that estrogen is also produced in other areas of the body as well. So it's worth keeping that in mind. But what happens is our progesterone levels drop, and progesterone isn't something that's really talked about so much, I don't think. And the reason why progesterone drops is because progesterone is produced when we're having our regular menses, we're having periods. When the follicles ripen and they release an egg, they also then release progesterone. So when that cycle isn't happening anymore, we're not producing progesterone. And if you remember, that progesterone then is produced in the adrenal glands, hopefully, if they're not too stressed out. So it's not necessarily the drop in estrogen that causes all of the problems. What it is, it's the ratio, it's the delicate balance between estrogen and progesterone that can cause these problems. And these problems can be bloating and mood swings, anxiety, insomnia. And I'm sure you're familiar with these symptoms. You may even be experiencing them yourself. So why is progesterone important? So here's a little list. It helps use fat for energy. It's a natural antidepressant and anti-anxiety. It prevents cyclical migraines, promotes normal sleep patterns, facilitates thyroid hormone function, helps normalize blood sugar levels, helps restore normal libido, prevents autoimmune diseases, and increases sensitivity of estrogen receptors. Wow, that's quite a list, isn't it? So we can see how when the levels of progesterone reduce, how that is probably what's causing us the problems, more so than the lower levels of estrogen. What can we do about the lower levels of progesterone? Well, we can go back and think about where it's produced, and that's in the adrenal glands. So we can look after our adrenals, and the way we've talked about that before, and that will help keep the promotion and production of progesterone from the adrenals. You can take it in synthetic form, so you could take it as a natural hormone replacement, and you can get progesterone type creams. Now, what can happen in this delicate dance, in this ratio between estrogen and progesterone, is something called estrogen dominance. And that may sound great. It may sound like, great, we're getting lots of estrogen, which is just what we need. You know, I've just read you a big list of things why we need estrogen. Why is estrogen dominance bad? And what it is, it's that ratio again. There's too much estrogen compared to progesterone, and this can cause lots of problems. So as well as weight gain, estrogen dominance can cause things like bloating, insomnia, and mood changes. So how do you manage this estrogen dominance? You can do things like reduce the amount of red meat you eat and processed meats. You could reduce the amount of alcohol you drink. You can make sure you're eating enough fibre. And it's really important that you have regular bowel movements. And I mean regular as in daily bowel movements. I speak to a lot of people that are constipated. And we need to be removing excess hormones from the body. These need to be cleared from the body. And this happens via the bowels. So ensuring you have, you're hydrated, you're eating fibre, you're eating fruit and vegetables to keep everything moving, because it's common in perimenopause for your body to slow down. The digestive tract gets a little bit sluggish, so that's one area. And the last thing is to really look after your liver. This is key, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow actually, because it deserves a video all to itself, looking after your liver and the impact that has on your health and your hormones and everything else. So another contributor to this estrogen dominance is something called Xenoestrogens, which sounds like something from a science fiction movie. But these Xenoestrogens are estrogen-like compounds that are found outside of the body. And these have been created because of our modern way of living. So these xenoestrogens, they mimic our natural hormones, and our cells have a lock and key system. And these xenoestrogens lock into our cells. And when this happens, our own natural hormones cannot lock onto the cell receptors, so they can't work. But not only that, then those hormones then are circulating in the body. Hello, estrogen dominance. So where do we find these xenoestrogens? They are everywhere. Excuse me. They're in our homes, they're in our offices, they're in our cars, they're everywhere. And I don't want to scaremonger you. I just want to make you aware of these things that can also have an impact on your on these foreign estrogens, if you like. So they're found in like soaps and detergents and cosmetics, cleaning products, in sofas, in carpets, medicines, perfumes. They're found everywhere. So what could you do to reduce this toxic load? What could you do to reduce your exposure, if you like, to these xenoestrogens that may be having an impact on your waistline without you even realising? I would switch from plastic to glass. That's what I've done. Get rid of all your Tupperware. If you're using a microwave, don't heat up plastic in there. You know, look at your cosmetics. The amount of cosmetics we use, they're full of crap, some of them. So from our body lotions to our makeup to lipstick to nail varnish, look, you know, at what you're using. You absorb what you put on your skin, you absorb that, and your body has to deal with that extra load. Other things, you could drink filtered water, maybe look at your cleaning products, move to more eco kind of type cleaning products. And what about what you're eating? Maybe try and move towards organic food, organic meats or free range meats. If you know, washing your fruit and vegetables, just these simple things are just other things you could do just to reduce that load. So I hope that's made some sense to you today about this balance, this ratio between estrogen and progesterone. It's not necessarily that we don't have enough estrogen. It may be you don't have enough progesterone, or it may be your estrogen dominance. Do you need to have tests to find this out? You could, if you wanted to, but what you could do, I would say, is just, you know, start taking on board some of the suggestions I've made and see how that goes. I'm going to talk more tomorrow about your liver, and then the last few days we're going to talk about food and exercise, and then we're going to bring it all together. Any questions, of course, just pop them in the comments below, ask away, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.